It's been more than a decade since the launch of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and almost a quarter century since the report of the Royal Commission on Aboriginal Peoples. Still, many Canadians, when it comes right down to it, aren't informed enough on the history or culture of Indigenous people to know what reconciliation is all about. Bob Joseph is founder of Indigenous Corporate Training, Inc. His first book was called 21 Things You May Not Know About the Indian Act, and now he's published the sequel. It's called Indigenous Relations, Insights, Tips, and Suggestions to Make Reconciliation a Reality. And Bob Joseph joins us now for more. So nice to have you back in that chair.
Thank you, my pleasure.
I want to start by reading an excerpt from the book, and I kind of like the way you got into it, so here we go. You ready?
I'm ready.
Sheldon, let's put this graphic up and people can read along. You start by saying, "Thanks for picking up this book. Doing so shows that you are interested in joining so many others on the journey to reconciliation. The insights, tips, and suggestions included here are all practical and doable. We're sure you will have some aha moments as you read. You may even have some oh no moments that make you squirm. Don't feel bad. We're all on this learning journey together, and together we will make this world a better place. Gilakasla, Bob Joseph, and your wife, Cynthia F. Joseph, with whom you worked on the book." Okay, just before we go any further, Gilakasla, what does that mean?
Greetings.
In what language?
Kwakwala.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and you did well, by the way.
Thank you.
Yes, you did very well.
Thank you. That is, if I may say, a rather different way to open a book. Why did you choose to do that?
You know what, I think that reconciliation requires us to just think differently. And so I'm always trying to see as many perspectives as I can, as well as share as many perspectives as I can as well.
Why do you think it's so difficult for so many to discuss reconciliation?
I think, I think Canadians at some level feel a little bit of guilt and maybe some shame in behind some of the history. They're only just learning about residential schools and Indian hospitals, and we certainly still have articles about drinking water and those kinds of things. And so I think it's an uncomfortable topic for people. So
you go through really quite significant chapter and verse. Actually, I should say it's what I told you this before we went on the air. It's a really good book, and I don't know if you can see this here. It's fairly short, so it is good, punchy, practical, doable advice, as you call it, but you do go through chapter and verse of sort of the most common mistakes that non-Indigenous people make when trying to relate to Indigenous people. Go ahead. What's your favorite? You know what? My favorite is people want to really help. I get a sense that Canadians want to engage and be involved in reconciliation, but they really just don't know how to start or what to do. And so their first sense, which I think is a totally Canadian value, is to say, "Hey, I'm here to help." And I always just tell people, that's great that you want to help. Please do. It's very much needed. But when we look at Indian affairs for the last 130 years, that's what it was all based on. Hey, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. So I always tell people if they come to me, "Bob, I see the plight and I really want to help." I always say, just don't say that. It'll bring back memories and do things that you don't want it to do. So I think that's the big thing. I think one of the big reveals for me in the book was the notion that if you were talking to people in the Jewish community, nobody would assume that they all had the same views or the same, cultural approaches on everything, or the Italian community or the Greek community or whatever. But for some reason, we seem to think that when you say an Indigenous person, regardless of what part of the country or what nation, etc., that it's somehow monocultural. Not the case, right?
No, it's a really diverse country. In terms of Indigenous peoples, there's, when we look at just First Nations, 11 major language families, over 50 different dialects. Are as different as Spanish is to Japanese. And then you throw into that mix Inuit and also Métis peoples. And what you have is, if you were to look at a map of Indigenous peoples in Canada, it'd be like looking at a map of Europe, just in terms of the culture and regional differences.
And nobody expects Greek people and German people and French people to all have the same culture and speak the same language, but for some reason we seem to think that's the case for Indigenous people.
Yeah, and I think it was the Indian Act that really, sort of homogenized everything. Yeah, they're Indian, so therefore they must all think alike. But they don't. They really, I always tell people you can find three different views. They'll be supportive of what you're talking about, they'll be against what you're talking about, or they won't really even be paying attention to what you're talking about.
What do you think non-Indigenous people need to know first and foremost about the treaties?
I think, the treaties are a fundamental part of the relationship. There's historic treaties, which if you downloaded Treaty 3 here in Northwest Ontario and, printed it on 8.5 by 11 pieces of paper, it would be 3 pages with signatures and preamble and the text where, if you looked at a modern treaty from British Columbia, the Niska Treaty, it's a 976-page legal document with the I's dotted and the T's crossed. So there can be quite big differences, but they're important relationship documents for Canadians, and largely they were done in 1763 to solidify military and economic alliances by the British colonial government.
So this is 100 years and more before Canada was Canada.
Yeah. King George recognized all of the Indigenous peoples that were here as nations of people. These are nations of people, so wherever we go, Newmarket today or some other part of the country, wherever we go, if there's people there, they're a nation of people, and wherever there is, they actually own it and we have to buy it from them. So this royal proclamation really codified the relationship between today Canada and Indigenous peoples. It said these are nations, they own land, we've got to buy it from them, and it actually said we're not supposed to molest or disturb them in the possession of such parts of our dominions and territories. So honestly, I think, if we think about the Star Trek franchise, if you remember the Prime Directive,
non-interference.
Non-interference. I think, maybe they got a little bit of help from the Royal Proclamation, just in terms of the relationship that is there, that exists.
Now, there's also a chapter in here on what are, as you've described them, commonly held myths that are not the case, but which are widely held views. And I want to go through some of them with you right now, and I'll put to you what many people believe,
yes,
and you can tell me what the problem is.
Yes.
Okay, for example, and you've heard this no doubt, Indians already have ample reserve land and resources.
Yeah. So they don't really have enough lands and resources to be self-reliant. I think that's a key piece. There's a place for them to live, but in terms of that self-reliant, running their governments, looking after their nations and their cultures, reserves just don't give them that opportunity. If we remember back to 21 Things, reserves were created as part of a post-Confederation assimilation policy. So we actually flip-flop on Indian policy in 1867. We decide they're going to assimilate. So we put them on these parcels of land called reserve lands. And they actually don't even own the land that they live on. That's set aside for their use and benefit. It was a place where they were going to go until they assimilate. And so that's the big challenge. They don't own those reserve lands. They don't even own the houses. You can ask somebody that lives in a reserve house, do you own that house? Absolutely, it's mine. We've been here forever. But legally, technically, underneath it all is Indian and Northern Affairs Canada. The title, it says, is vested in Her Majesty. So that creates all kinds of challenges for people living on reserve lands. And they are just for people's reference. They are reserve lands in Canada. They're not reservations. That's really a U.S. expression, so I'm always trying to help people with sort of that piece. We only have reservations at hotels, airlines, restaurants, and places like that.
Now, if I remember the math, in fact, Indigenous people own what, 0.2% of the land in this country?
Yeah, it's not a very big number in terms of the percentage to land mass. Yeah, and like I say, they don't even really own it. It's still, the title is still vested in Her Majesty. The idea was they were supposed to assimilate, and then the federal crown would have lands that it could then decide what it wanted to do with, dispose of, or otherwise.
Okay, myth number 2. Indians get free housing.
Yeah, so the housing on reserve is complicated, and each community will do it a little bit differently. Some communities, I can remember talking to a former chief of the Weewakai Nation, won't build their members' houses. Whatever you live in, Steve, that's up to you. We're going to spend the money that we do get to put down sidewalks and sewer and electricity and those kinds of things. We don't actually build our members' houses, where other peoples may try experimenting with social housing, where you can get a house and live in it as long as you pay $400 a month for X number of years. So it's not a rental payment, because eventually it'll stop, but it's not a mortgage payment either. They don't own it when they're done. And so bands will do sort of different things to try and, increase the number of housing for people living on reserves.
Myth number 3, Indians don't pay taxes.
Yeah, we have to be specific, and I think that's like a really specific myth in terms of Indians. So we walk down the street, we see Indigenous peoples, and we assume that they all don't pay taxes. But if we were to think of Métis peoples, they pay taxes. They have always paid taxes. Inuit people aren't covered under the Inuit Act, and so they're going to be in that tax-paying group of peoples. And then when we get to the actual Indian in the Constitution, Indian, Inuit, and Métis peoples, it is only the status Indians who are eligible for an income tax exemption underneath the Indian Act. It's in a section called 87. Section 87 was put into place to protect their property from the erosion of taxes while they were assimilating. So if you're a status Indian, working on a reserve and being paid on a reserve, those are Revenue Canada requirements, then you can get your income tax exempt. You only need to meet 2 of the requirements, but certainly being a status Indian is one of them, and then where you work and where you're paid are the other 2 pieces. So,
What percentage of Indigenous people in the country would meet those criteria?
I've tried to get the answer a few times, and the problem with the answer is just that Revenue Canada will send answers that include people who are employable, so personal income tax. They'll include numbers around income tax exemptions for goods and services delivered to reserves. And so I'm always a little bit confused when it comes out. But I would have to say maybe in the 200,000 at the most. And to me, it's a really high number just in terms of when we look at reserves typically, really usually high levels of unemployment. So I'm not sure where those numbers are coming from. I'm a status Indian here today, but where we are in downtown Toronto makes me this is taxable
the next
work
guy.
for me. Yeah, I gotta pay not Uncle Sam.
Not
Sorry,
Uncle Sam.
wrong government. Yes.
Okay, myth number 4, Indians get free post-secondary education.
There is post-secondary education dollars available through the federal government. It gets transferred to bands on a per capita basis. Your band has to have enough of a per capita to get funding transferred, but there's always a waiting list. Not everybody on that waiting list gets to go. I would say of the 100%, 80% probably wouldn't get any kind of funding from the band to go to post-secondary education. Some bands will only pay the tuition, and some will pay tuition and books, and some will pay tuition, books, and living allowance of up to, I think, $600 a month to go and have a place to live while you're going to school. So,
Bob, this is probably the most hurtful myth that Indigenous people no doubt hear. Residential schools are ancient history, so why can't they just get over it?
Yeah, very. It's a tough one. They are ancient history, but from the community's perspective, they're still healing from those residential schools. And actually, you have to also put it into a little bit of context. The last school closed in 1996.
That's not that ancient.
I don't think so.
No.
Which means there's very young people who attended the schools who, as people are probably starting to really see and learn now, those were horrible experiences in terms of the abuse and all of the things that happened. Prime Minister Harper noted in his apology, the powerless people nature of residential schools. So it is, I think, it took us 4 generations to get into this mess. I don't think we're going to get out I hope it's not 4, but I don't think we're going to get out in 1. I was thinking that as long as we keep implementing the TRC recommendations, 15 years from now, this will be a completely different country. But anything less than that would be unrealistic. And as far as getting over it, I can remember talking to a lady in one of our sessions, and I don't usually ask a question or, to answer a question, but she said, when will people get over it, Bob? And I'd been talking to her on the break, and I'd asked her if she had kids, and it was just sort of a sociable conversation. And she said, so when do you think they'll get over it? And I said, I don't know, you've got kids. When would you be able to get over that yourself? And so it was sort of a question with a question, which I don't always like to do.
But sometimes that's the most effective way to go.
Yeah.
We should just clarify here as well. I use the word Indians in addressing these myths because that is often the language which is used. Indians think this, or Indians don't do this, or whatever. But again, you've got references in the book to to the appropriate language to be used today? Help us
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah. So I think, and people are always asking me, Bob, what's the best terminology? Just tell me and I'll use it. And honestly, the best terminology is whatever the person or group of peoples that you're talking to is using. So for our corporate clients and our government clients, I'll actually tell them, if you really want to know what the best terminology is, call the band office after hours and listen to the recorded message. And you'll be surprised at what you hear. You'll hear, oh, you've reached West Bank First Nation. Our office hours are, 8:30 to 4, whatever those office hours are. But you'll also hear, the answering machine say, oh, you've reached the Penticton Indian Band office, and, the other term. So I always just tell people, go with what they're calling themselves. That's the best terminology, and you won't get into any trouble. And if you're still sort of fumbling around, we've just met at a conference, and you're not sure what the best terminology is, I tell people to go with communities. Just tell me a little bit more about your community, Steve. And, so I'll try and get people to be comfortable that way, or I'll feed off of their cue. Where are you from is one of the first questions I will ask other Indigenous peoples, and they'll usually give me a hint of which community they're from. And in there I can hear nation or band or tribe sometimes, and so I'll pick up off of that. And I definitely, if we're at a community gathering, I will listen to how they are introducing themselves. And so that's my, can I borrow from a hockey analogy? My
Sure.
Don Cherry rocket surgery advice, go with what they're calling themselves, and you won't get into too much trouble.
There we go.
Yeah.
We are down to our last minute and change here, so I want to let's finish up on some practical advice here.
Yes.
You do mention in the book, if you're going to have a meeting with Indigenous people, for a business meeting, for example, be careful not to overdress. And you also say, don't keep looking at your watch. Now, let's get the explanation behind those two pieces of advice. How come?
I like it. The dress, and I really like your suit and tie. I just want to throw that out there.
And I like the fact that you're not wearing one.
There you go. And, but I think, in terms of that authority figure, remember, it was the church, it was the state, it was the police who were taking away the kids. And those are very much authority figure issues that are created out of that. So if we show up with a really nice, suit and tie, blue blazer, then I think there's a chance there that we trigger authority figure issues. And so I, just tell people, if you're going in to meet with the community, check out the website or their Facebook page, kind of take a look how everybody else is dressing. It's a little bit of when in Rome, and and for the most part, I tell people just to dress for the weather. And it's really because we don't want to trigger authority figure issues. And
How about looking at the watch?
the watch. So time is important. Indian time is, we hear that a lot, and time is important, but it's not as important as having the right people there. So we won't, we wouldn't be upset if a meeting started late because Steve's not here. We got to get Steve here first. That's the time to start the meeting, and he could be coming by float plane or boat or some far off place to join the meeting. In terms of looking at the watch, it's all about the relationship. So if you're, constantly looking at the watch, I got 2 more minutes, and I know we're over time now, so. I think those are the kinds of things that really get people. I can remember working with one executive from here in Toronto, actually, and he said he was going in to negotiate with the community, and he just leaned out on the table, nice blue jacket, but a really nice watch popped out. And the chief looked at him and said, "Nice watch." And he said, "Yeah, very, it's a Bright Lane or whatever it was, some huge name brand." And the chief let him finish the story, and then he said, "You've got a watch. I have time." And this executive who was going in to negotiate said, I never felt more at a disadvantage in negotiations, and it's because my watch popped out. So.
Good story, good story. Well, thank you for that. Indigenous Relations is the name of the book, Insights, Tips, and Suggestions to Make Reconciliation a Reality. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario, helping businesses stay on the right side of change with strategic thinking, insightful decisions, and business leadership. Are you on the right side of change? Ask an Ontario CPA.